love to see all the time. The news, you don't have good news on the news. It's always something traumatic or bad. People wouldn't watch it if it was good, unfortunately. So, out of Zacchaeus, we're going to talk about some points. We'll get into it. But like I said, Zacchaeus has 10 verses. And if y'all want to, go ahead and turn to Luke 19. And we'll read Luke 19, verses 1 through 10. It said, Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through. A man was there by the name of Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was wealthy. He wanted to see who Jesus was, but being a short man, he could not because of the crowd. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore tree to see him, since Jesus was coming that way. When Jesus reached the spot, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today. So he came down and once welcomed him gladly. All the people saw this and began to mutter, he has gone to the guests of a sinner. But Zacchaeus stood up and said to the Lord, look, Lord, here and now I give half of my possessions to the poor, and if I have cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount. Jesus said to him, today salvation has come to your house, to this house, because this man too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and save what was lost. But what do we know about Zacchaeus? And this is a class interaction. So if you have a question, whatever, throw your hand up if you want to respond. So what do we know about Zacchaeus? The what? Chief tax collector. And I had to leave my hearing aids at home because I'm wearing this, so you have to really speak up.
He was wealthy.
Wealthy. A sinner. Short, we think. We don't know, as Josh was saying, and we don't know if he was short or not, or maybe it was a land of a lot of tall people and he was average size. We don't know. So if you lived during a time of Zacchaeus, what do you think you would call Zacchaeus? Tax collector. A traitor? Okay. To the Jewish people? Okay. Selfless, or selfish? But what changed for Zacchaeus? Jesus. I mean, really, all he did was look at him. And Jesus saw him. I mean, there wasn't any, besides when Jesus called him down. So as Jesus walked through Galilee and Palestine, obviously Jesus always walked with a purpose. I mean, he never went anywhere without knowing what was going to happen. He's not like me a lot of mornings. You get up and you're like, what am I going to do today? Am I going to mow? I'm going to pick berries? I'm going to whatever. Jesus had a plan from the time he got up to the time he went to bed. And he changed lives. I wonder how many times I lay down at bed, hardly ever, and go, I wonder whose life I changed today. I don't think about that. I'm thankful a lot of times I was like, I'm glad I made it through the day. But Zacchaeus' life changed when he met Jesus. So by the time we pick up our reading tonight in chapter 19 of Luke, Jesus is on his final walk to Jerusalem. So he knows what lies at the end of the road. He doesn't, he's not like turning around. He's going forward. But why did Jesus have time? He knows what his ultimate end is going to be within a matter of weeks, probably. But what did Jesus do? He stopped and helped a sinner, someone that majority of the population just outcasted. But Jesus, knowing he was going to be put to death, stopped and helped the least of that community, tax collector. Do we have any IRS people in here? Oh, good. We can talk about you tonight then. Same as today. I mean, we have this bad thinking about IRS. I mean, he was that guy that collected the money. And I'm sure obviously it was done a little bit different back then. So like I said, by the time we get here to Luke 19, Jesus is on his final walk to Jerusalem. Wherever Jesus went, there was a crowd. I don't know who we can compare it to today. Last summer, maybe Taylor Swift concert tour, selling out 100,000 stadiums, people dying to get into the concerts, whatever. People were, that's who modern day people just trying to see. Jesus was walking through, and obviously no internet back then, no cell phones, no television, nothing, but word would spread way ahead of where he was coming from. And people would just gather like this. You don't say how many people, but it was so crowded, Zacchaeus had to climb a tree just to get a glimpse of Jesus. So I don't know how many, 5, 6, 7 people deep on each side, just trying to picture of a big parade. If you watch like the New Year's Eve bash in New York, it's just so deep of people just trying to be there, be in the moment. Y'all keep watching. I'm just wondering what was. Okay. I keep seeing it, like people have glasses, I can see it change, and I was wondering what was. All right. I didn't know I had a slideshow, so. So Jesus stopped and helped the least of the population that he was encountering. So we know Zacchaeus was a chief tax collector. No one despised more than the Jewish community than him. Some things never change with the tax collectors, right? Jewish people had to pay their taxes even though they felt like it was a trade to their faith, paying the Roman government. And modern day language, Zacchaeus was the top of a pyramid scheme. He was up here, he collected commission off people's taxes, and he had people working for him. He collected money off their commission, so he just had a lot of money. Because he was small in stature, unable to see Jesus. If y'all here for the kids part, Josh sung the Wee Little Man Was He, climbed up in a sycamore tree. I was going to have it sing, I was going to let y'all sing that one too, but Josh already sung it, so. He just wanted to catch a glimpse of Jesus. He probably worked harder than anybody trying to catch a glimpse because of his stature, just to get up into a tree to see him. I don't know how a sycamore tree is done. Is it limbs down low like a maple or oak, or is it like a locust tree where you got to have a ladder to get to the lowest branch? I don't know what a sycamore tree is. Or I know what it is, but it has smooth bark.
It says it grows 30 to 40 feet high.
Okay.
And has a short trunk and spreading branches.
Okay, so the branches are close to the ground, so he could climb up like a ladder.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to have a Bible like that.
Yeah, study Bible.
So, okay, so the branches are low, so he could climb like a ladder and get up. How high did he climb? We don't know. High enough above to see. So Jesus looks up in the tree and he sees Zacchaeus, and he calls for him to come down. Obviously, Zacchaeus had no idea of even talking to Jesus, much less Jesus seeking him out and telling, come down here. Wee little man comes from the tree. We're going to talk. And then he says, I'm going to your house. Can you imagine someone of that hatred people hated so much, having Jesus go to his house? Poppy and I have a friend, I won't mention the name, lesbian, atheist, and most definitely a different side of the political aisle than I am, or we are. But she is welcome at our house anytime. We have no qualms about it because we love each other. Our values are different, but she's still a person. And I could think about if people knew, like she's not from here, she lives Ohio or something now, but she's from Washington State, and we met her through work and this and that. But if people knew her now, if she came to visit, I can see people going, look who they got going to their house. Look at her. We know what she's like. I have a brother. People will probably whisper when he comes to my house, you better lock everything down, you better bolt it to the floor, hide your money. It is what it is. But that's who we're called to serve, the least of these. We don't save anybody right here. in these pews. It's out there. We got to go. And we'll get into that a little bit later. So if we read in verse 8 of chapter 19, it says, Zacchaeus stood up and said to the Lord, "Look, Lord, here and now I give half of my possessions to the poor, and if I have cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount." Jesus made an immediate impression upon Zacchaeus. It wasn't one of these, maybe next month I can scale down my commissions and give more. I mean, immediately he said, I'm giving up half. And if I've wronged anybody, for Roman law, I believe at that time, if you wronged anybody, you got to give 4 times back the amount that you wronged them out of. So he recognized his dishonest gain from the people he came in contact with. So Jesus saw that his heart was softened, and Zacchaeus changed from inward selfishness to outward selflessness. Jesus changed his aspect just like that. It can happen with us. So tonight we're going to look at 3 different stages of love through what Zacchaeus progressed as we prepare ourselves for that changing experience when we love Jesus and know Jesus. So first is true selflessness begins when we learn to love Jesus. How many of us say we love Jesus? Hopefully everybody. I hope we all can say we love Jesus. So we're going to flip over to Matthew 22. Matthew 22, 37 and 39. Most of y'all probably have heard this all your life. Matthew 22, 37 through 39. So Jesus replied, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself." Whew, that second one. That's a hard one. But if we can't do those 2 things, nothing else matters. If we can't love God and love our neighbor, what else matters? Who's your neighbor? Everybody. That guy that works on his bass boat at 2 o'clock in the morning, make sure that motor's fine-tuned. When I work midnights, that guy that mowed at 12 o'clock in the afternoon when I'm trying to sleep. Because he wouldn't like it if I mowed at midnight when I was awake. So it kind of works both ways. It's that guy or that girl at work that just all the time. Those are your neighbors. Not the guy or the lady that lives next door or your person that lives across the street. It's everybody that we come in contact with. It's that person that cuts you off on the road. It's everybody. So love God and love your neighbors. All right, we'll just flip over a little bit. Matthew chapter 25. (25) 31 through 46. We know this, it's read a lot, but it's so true. So it says, "The king will say to those on his right, 'Come, you who are blessed by my Father. Take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you invited me in. I needed clothes and you clothed me. And I was sick and you looked after me. I was in prison and you came to visit me.'" Those are pretty hard there. Then he goes through and we'll jump down to verse 40. It says, "The king will reply, 'I tell you the truth. Whatever you did to the least of one of these or brothers you did of mine, you did for me.' Then they will say to those on his left, 'Depart from me, who are cursed in the eternal fire, prepared for the devil and angels. For I was hungry and you gave me nothing to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, you did not invite me in. I needed clothes and you did not clothe me. I was sick and in prison, you did not look after me.' Then they will answer, 'Lord, when will you see you hungry or thirsty or a stranger or needing clothes or sick or in prison, did not help?' And he will reply, 'I tell you the truth, whatever you did not do for one of the least of these, you did not do for me.'" Those are always hard verses for me because it tells us exactly what we're supposed to do and who we're supposed to do it for. Thank goodness we have the prison ministry. Love it. And when I retire from Metro, I have people that served in time at Northeast. I arrested them for a homicide, and I've interviewed them, I talked to them, and that's where they ended up, was at Northeast. I would have a hard time going into Northeast because I might see them. But there were people that I did arrest for heinous crimes that I would talk to and try to say, hey, look, you did something wrong. You did something bad. You're going away for a while. But life's not over. And I'm hoping that these gentlemen that are in the prison that they're ministering to, that they are changing their lives. Proverbs 8:17. In a minute, there will be some class participation. So how do we get selflessness when we learn to love Jesus? Proverbs 8:17. I love those who love me, and those who seek me find me. With me, riches and honor, enduring wealth and prosperity. My fruit is better than fine gold. What I yield surpasses choice silver. I'll walk in the way of righteousness along with the paths of justice. I bestow on wealth on those who love me, and making their treasures full. Love Jesus, he's loving us. He's going to provide for us. It may not be the new car, the best phone, the biggest house, or the fastest bass boat, whatever. But he's given us something more important than that. He's given us love. And we have to ask ourselves, what lengths are we willing to go to draw closer to God, to Jesus? If we truly love him, we must first draw close to him and spend time growing our relationship with him. I made a commitment this year. I don't like making New Year's Eve, or I don't even know what the word of it is called, New Year's resolution. I don't like making them. Because if you don't make it, you're like, man, I failed for the year. So my goal this year was to read the chronological Bible in order through the year. So I read it and I listen to it on the way to work. So 15 minutes from Jonesboro to ETSU, it's a one-day reading. And it's amazing, I've read these verses or heard these verses all my life, and something new pops up. And, I try to spend time with Jesus every day. Maybe 15 minutes on the road. There's not a lot of traffic from Jonesboro to Johnson City on Greenwood Avenue. Not a lot of traffic, so I don't have to worry about getting cut off or anything like that. I can focus on that 15 minutes, and that 15 minutes makes a difference. When I don't get to listen to it, my day's like, it's not that great. But my time I spend listening, not reading, but listening to the Word, it makes my day better. I feel better through the day. So just spending a little time with Jesus will make your day better. So falling in love with Jesus shouldn't be difficult. But some of the things we have to do to stay in love with Jesus may be. Refer back to Matthew 25. Feeding the hungry, visiting the sick, going to prison, clothing the naked. Those can be hard. They can be hard things to do. So the second one we're going to look at is true selflessness grows when we love ourselves. I don't mean look in the mirror, fluff your hair, put makeup on, their hair in place. I got the right clothes on, I have the right watch, the right phone. It's none of that. And sometimes what we do is we bring others down to build ourselves up. That's not really loving ourselves. So, after spending just a brief moment with Jesus, Zacchaeus changed immediately. He changed. He went from seeking people's money to giving half his possessions and giving 4 times what he wronged the other people. And Zacchaeus probably never anticipated having a dinner guest like Jesus. I don't know who the most famous person you've ever had dinner with. Probably not on the level as Jesus. But I'm sure that if someone famous came to your house, people were talking, or you met them out somewhere for dinner. Never been that lucky. I've seen a few. When I used to work CMA Fest for Nashville, you see all the country music stars and actors and stuff come, and you might get your picture made with them. That's it, just a fleeting moment. But this, Jesus, the Savior, the man, was sitting at your table. You can imagine people talking. Do you think people's view of Zacchaeus changed? We don't know. But what do you think would happen if the governor decided to come by your house? You know, I live in a small country house. The governor decided to stop by my house. You think there would be neighbors talking about, man, still had Governor Lee stop by his house. Now, he must be somebody important. Let's treat him differently now. So what do you think the people thought about Zacchaeus now, moving forward? Especially he gave up half his wealth and giving people 4 times back what they wronged them. That's just a little tidbit. It's not even in my notes. It just came to me. But a healthy love for your neighbors comes from a healthy love for yourself. You can't love your neighbors if you don't love yourself. There's a lot of days I get up and I'm like, man, I don't want to whatever. But I have to make me feel better. And God knew that we were important people. And we're not going to turn and read them, but in Genesis 1, he created us in his image. John 3, he sent his son to die for us. In 1 Corinthians 3, he chose our bodies as his dwelling place. So we're important people. God looked at us and said, he made us in his image. We should be sending that love out, going out and helping people. So with God showing us this type of love, where y'all participate, how do you get self-love?
Learn what God says about you.
Okay. Learn what God says about you. So those verses, and y'all can go back and read them. It's Genesis 1:26, John 3:16, and 1 Corinthians 3:16, talking about he created us in his image, Son died for us, and we're his dwelling place. So these verses should make it easy for us to recognize our self-worth. We shouldn't have to worry about, and Poppy will be the first to say, I don't care what anybody thinks about me. I really don't. I could care less. I may wear plaid and stripes. I don't care. You know, I won't say that. I was going to say I don't never wear UT orange, but I do deer hunt. And then the last one we're going to talk about, got a little over 5 minutes. True selflessness shows when we learn to love others. So after Zacchaeus met with Jesus and he learned how to love himself, then his love turned outward. I don't know what Zacchaeus thought of himself. We're not told. We just know he was rich and he got his money by stealing more or less from people. It doesn't say he was downtrodden. It doesn't say he was an angry man. It doesn't say any of that. But obviously it changed the way he viewed himself because he started giving instead of taking. And when we truly love Jesus, the love for others will come naturally. Just to think about the people that you love, your wife, your husband, your children, your parents, brothers, sisters. It just comes naturally to love them. I kind of mentioned my brother earlier. I don't like him, the things he does and the person he is a lot of times, but I love him because I have to. Not only because he's my brother, because God tells me I have to. And he came from as we say, me and my 2 brothers, all 3 of us came from the same gene pool. 2 out of 3 ain't bad, right? You sometimes you have to wonder. But we still love him, and we still get angry with him, though. But we have to love each other. And over time, though, the people you do love and you care for, your wife, your husband, your kids, brothers, sisters, you grow to appreciate the things they love. Most times, no. But we do. We are going to read some verses here, and we'll hopefully have a few minutes to talk. 1 John 5. These are all going to be in pretty much 1 John. 1 John 5, verses 1 and 2. Everyone who believes that Jesus is Christ is born of God, and everyone who loves the Father loves his child as well. This is how we know that we love the children of God, by loving God and carrying out his commands. Those commands: love God, love your neighbors. Your neighbor is your brother, sister, husband, wife, mom, dad. In John 4:11, in John 4, 1 John 4, verses 11 and 12. Dear friends, since God so loved us, we also ought to love one another. No one has ever seen God, but if we love one another, God lives in us, and his love is made complete in us. I mean, that sums it up right there. We never seen God, but if we love each other, we know God's in us. And then 1 John chapter 4, verse 20 and 21. If anyone says, I love God, yet hates his brother, he is a liar. For anyone who does not love his brother whom he has seen cannot love God who he has not seen. I mean, we have to love. So, with a healthy balance of ourselves, taking care of ourselves, loving God, loving others, that's a perfect world. That's the utopia that we're looking for. If we can just get over this, whatever it is that's standing in our way. If we truly love God, truly love Jesus, these things shouldn't be that difficult. And with a healthy love balance in ourselves, caring for the needs of others should not be a burdensome task. Just as fruit grows on a tree that is healthy, our concern for others should pour out when we fall in love with Jesus and realize how much he loves us. It's hard. Like I said to my brother, I love him, but it's hard. It's very difficult. And I'm sure we all have people, friends, neighbors, family members like that it's difficult to love them. But you have to. It's not an option. Two greatest commandments. Love God. I like to say love others. Because if we can't do either one of those, the rest of this really doesn't matter. So we've got a few minutes, and I've got some food for thought here. This is where I hope in this last 10 minutes y'all will talk a little bit, giving y'all some information. So what are some ways that an unhealthy love for oneself or lack of it can manifest itself in the mistreatment of others? What are some ways that an unhealthy love for oneself or lack of can manifest itself in the mistreatment of others? Yes, sir.
I think if you don't have a good self-worth and you don't understand how you might even try to earn your way into salvation, which you can't, and then you're going to try to judge others in that same wrong thought process of earning a salvation versus it's a gift.
Okay. Earn salvation instead of the gift that we receive of doing what we're supposed to do. Okay. Anyone else? We've got a few more questions. Give everybody an opportunity to talk. Yes, ma'am, Miss Poppy Steele.
I've heard people say, hurt people hurt people. So someone who's been injured themselves will do things to hurt people. And so when people hurt me, that's what I think in my head, is I think they must be harboring hurt within them because they're, spewing venom and saying hurtful things to people around them. And I think there must be something in them that's hurting, where their past, they've experienced hurt themselves. So I try to, make an earnest effort to say heavy-duty prayers for them, because I feel like they must be working through a lot. And then prayers that I can, love them through all of that. And I have this picture in my head of like a wounded dog. When I was growing up, I remember they say if a dog's hurt, you don't try to touch it because it'll lash out and bite you. And that's the image I have in my head. Hurt people.
Okay, the Reader's Digest version of that, if y'all didn't hear, hurt people hurt people. And she had an illustration about a dog, but it's true. Kind of like we want to bring people down to our level if we're not where we're supposed to be, to make us feel better that we're on par with everybody else, instead of pulling them up. And y'all have all seen the old thing where you stand up in a chair and someone stands on the floor. It's easier to pull someone down off the chair than it is to pull them up to it. So that's what we do. We're down here. We try to pull people down. But the opposite of that, what are some ways of healthy love for oneself affects the ability to love others?
I'll go again.
Okay, please do.
If you know you're loved and cared for in only a manner that God can, then you want to share that with other people so that they can be loved just like you are.
Yep. In Galatians 5:14, the entire law is summed up in a single command: love your neighbor as yourself. Does that mean you can't get upset with a friend or family member? No. Sometimes they need it. Sometimes you got to get righteous with them and get them back on the straight and narrow. That's love. How was Zacchaeus' decision to give generously to the poor and needy a reflection of his newfound love for himself? Some of y'all getting an A, some of y'all are just going to fail.
If we know we're loved by God, then we know that whatever we give to others, He will resupply us so that we can, it's seed for the sower.
Right.
It says in another passage. And so He'll provide me with what I need,
Mm-hmm.
and I can help other people in the process.
I remember my parents telling me a story. So my mom didn't go back to school until I was in first or second grade to be a nurse. So my dad worked. We lived in Nashville. You didn't go to public schools in Nashville. So we went to a private school. So you had 3 kids in private school, my mom in school, and my dad was working. So he worked 2 jobs a lot of the time, didn't have the extra money to do things. Well, the washing machine go out. You know, you didn't have a couple $100. Then I remember him saying this. He goes, but we opened the mail one day and there's a letter from the bank saying, oh, sorry, we took too much out of your account. Here's a check to refund you that amount. Is the amount for the washing machine. You know, you don't think about it when you're young, but now that you might need money for a washing machine, but you think about it now, they lived good lives. They didn't do anything dishonest. They did good with their money. They thought they did wise with it, and God provided. Is that divine intervention? I don't know. But they never worried about it. God will provide. And like you're saying, you give of your means, give of your talents. God's going to give back to you more in a lot of cases. All right, consider the people in your life and love that in life you love the most. In what ways have you learned to care about the things they care about? Okay, I'll start. I'm a sports junkie. I admit it. But from the time our girls were little and currently, we've only had one TV in our house our entire 31 years of marriage. Only one TV. So as the kids were little, if we watched something, we watched as a family. There wasn't, kids didn't go to their room, watch something, we watched something else. So from first weekend in February now through Labor Day weekend, Poppy has the television to whatever she wants to watch. I'm saving my time. For Saturdays in the fall, I will watch the University of Hawaii versus Idaho at 10 p.m. at night. I don't care. But she has kind of learned to love what I like. I mean, she doesn't, oh, well, you got to watch that game today or anything. But on turn, when we lived in Nashville, we had season tickets to T-Pack. I don't like musicals. I love musicals, sweetie. But I've never understood why you have to sing what you want to talk about. You know, I don't understand that. But we have, you know, over our 31 years, there's things that she grew up doing and loving that I now like to do. And she'll go to, I mean, we went to I'll step back. And I'm an Alabama fan. We drove to Lexington last year to watch Alabama play at UK. I mean, we visited her aunt, but she had her option on Saturday afternoon. That would not be what she wanted to do. But we've, you know, you learn to love. My brother's a big fisherman and deer hunter. His kids learned to fish and deer hunt. That's how they bonded. And my oldest niece broke up with her first boyfriend because he couldn't bait his own hook. So, but you know, you learn when you grow together and love each other, you do things to help each other. It makes whatever relationship it is, neighbor, brother, sister, husband, wife, it makes it stronger. And we'll turn back to 1 John one more time. I'm sorry if you put your Bibles up. I lied to you. 1 John 5, verse 1. We'll read it again. It says, everyone who believes that Jesus is the Christ is born of God, and everybody who loves the Father loves his child as well. So in light of that verse, the previous question, how should our love for Jesus affect the way we treat others? Like Jesus would. He didn't get, to my knowledge, really only angry once, overturning the tables. He took care of people with love. He cared for them. No matter their differences of opinion, which side of the aisle you sat on, what your interests are, what your gender, non-gender, whatever, it didn't matter. He loved them. And I think that's what we have to do to get through a lot of this stuff that we see going on. And like I said, there's only 10 verses in Zacchaeus, but it's powerful 10 verses. Because he just wanted to catch a glimpse of Jesus, but he didn't know that Jesus wanted to seek him out as well. And it changed his life, as far as we know, forever. Because we don't have a verse 11 on Zacchaeus. It stops at 10. We don't know, but we assume that he changed his life completely and started serving God. So it's 7 o'clock. I was told to end at 7. So if you don't mind, we're going to close with a prayer and then we'll wait for the kids to return. Father in heaven, we're so thankful for this day. We're so thankful for the opportunity we have to come together, to talk, to study, and to hopefully strengthen our lives and our love for each other. Lord, as we go out into this community, we pray that we're the light on the hill, that people see us and seek us, to know what's different about us, that we can tell them about Jesus, and the most important thing is to bring lost souls to him. Lord, just continue to watch over us, continue to watch over this Bible school, let it be productive and beneficial to the ones that are here, that they can gain that energy to go out and seek lost souls. We love you, Lord, and we ask your forgiveness when we fail. And in your son's name we pray. Amen. Dismissed.